Hello, good day, my dear students. No, so it's evening today, but I'm saying good day. No, I'm shooting this in evening. No, so good day, everyone. I hope you are all doing well, and I'm hoping that you are taking care of your respective bodies. No, not just the physical, but also mental. Remember, when you are tired, just rest. No, do not quit. Just learn to rest. No. I will try my best to keep this short, no, to make this 20 to 30 minutes, no, just like what I've told you last time. And after this, we'll be having the Zoom, or sorry, the Google Meet meeting. So in Google Meet, I will also be discussing it specifically, no, mas mabusisi if you have questions and clarifications. Okay, so the subject of us is language programs and policies in multilingual societies, and we are, of course, on the lesson 1, unit 1. So we are in the week 4, but still we are in lesson 1. But don't worry, we will not cram. Okay, so lesson 1 is diversity in education, language in a global world. Unit 1, of course, diversity in education, diversity, society, education, language. So we will tackle this along the way of the subject or the course. Learning objectives. So define diversity, value, understand the importance of diversity in education, define and identify the characteristics of language. So what is diversity? So diversity is generally understood to encompass race, ethnicity, class, gender, sexuality, age, and political and religious beliefs. So when we say diversity, when we say there's diversity in a classroom, it is a diverse classroom. That means that the classroom has a different aspects or differences, no? Maybe it encompasses race, maybe ethnicity, maybe a class, maybe a gender, sexuality, or age, but there is, of course, a differences. That's why it is diverse. Diversity is the exploration and incorporation of these differences to enrich learning and in our classroom, no? So way back then, when we say there's a diversity in a classroom, we are thinking that it's really hard to teach or it's really hard to learn as a student if there's a diversity. But as time goes by, while in the past it has focused on strengthening intercultural tolerance, new ideas about diversity and inclusion have developed. Take note of this, shifting the focus towards enriching human learning and experience. So the focus now of diversity is in the human learning and experience. That's why the term unity and diversity is being formulated. And what is unity and diversity? It is very important for a country because it is very easy to disintegrate people with different views and ideologies. It's really easy to break a group of people once they have different views and ideologies. Sometimes when you and your brother or your sister, when you get into trouble, when you get fight inside the house, your mother or your father probably separated you from him or her, right? That is the negative aspect of diversity. That's why we have the term unity and diversity, for us to accept that we are not the same, that we are human beings. Things, human beings, animals are never be the same. They are not the same. Okay? So we are different from each other, and it's all about acceptance. So if there is unity among the people despite their differences, it will always be impossible for a force to disintegrate the nation. So that is the importance of unity and diversity. So what do you think is the importance of diversity in education? So this is one of the hardest part of the online class now, having a video lesson. I'm not able to interact with you, before I used to interact with my students, pag mga ganitong klase, but then we will live with this. So first one is student performance. So one of the importance of having a diverse classroom or a diversity in education is that the student performance. So we have here the two studies. According to research conducted by Queen's University of Charlotte, this is in USA if I'm not mistaken, students achieve more and work harder in multicultural environments. Why is it? So your task number 1 is to answer the question, why is it? According to research na kinonduct ng Queen's University of Charlotte, students achieve more and work harder in multicultural environment. Why is it? You will answer it later, okay? So according to case study from the Century Foundation, effectively integrated school had less misbehavior, lower dropout levels, and noticed that students were more likely to want to pursue post-secondary education. Okay, so your first task is to answer the questions. Why is it that students achieve more and work harder in multicultural environments? Okay, I will not be explaining this part. But then, I will highlight the quotation here. Quote, exploring differences enriches the learning experience. So, this is quite a clue. Exploring differences enriches the learning experience. So, number 2, creativity. So creativity, diverse study environments also drive creativity when interpreting and using knowledge, data, and facts. So how can we develop creativity when it comes to a diverse classroom? One thing, we are working collaboratively. Okay, when we are in a group of different people, different culture, no, it's multicultural group, a diverse group, we are learning something. We're learning about them, they are learning about us, and we are learning to work collaboratively with each other. Helps create a positive atmosphere, no, and group dynamic for creative and collaborative learning, no. Bringing diverse students together helps with critical thinking or problem solving as well, especially when applied to real world business problems. So number 2 importance is that we are developing creativity. Number 3, combating prejudice. No? Studies have shown that having diverse classroom help develop tolerance and a greater sense of security when environments with other foreign cultures present. It also helps students learn about other languages and cultures, encouraging them to be interculturally sensitive. So for example, no, way back in PUP, we are really diverse. We are really multicultural. Why? Because in PUP, on our section that time, we have different set of students. I have a classmate from Quezon City. I have a classmate from Caloocan. I have a classmate from Laguna. I'm from Bulacan. I have a classmate from Cavite. I have a classmate from Mindoro. I have a classmate from Batangas. The cultural setup pa lang, we are already diverse. What more sa aming age? Some of us that time were 16, 17, while some of us at that time are already 21. So the age bracket, we are also diverse. I have a classmate who is a gay, a lesbian, and I'm a male. There are female, no? So when it comes to gender, we are also different, right? So we are learning, we are combating prejudice, our own biases when we are exposed to the different culture or a multicultural society, a diverse classroom. So diversity in the classroom teaches students to appreciate different perspective and draw stronger conclusion. How? It's simple. They are learning from me. I'm also learning from them. Okay, their point of view is different from the point of view of mine. So I will say my point of view, then they will listen, and they will, of course, they will learn, and vice versa. Okay, we are appreciate different perspectives here, and we are drawing stronger conclusions. So students learn to interact with their peers on a social level and equip them with skills they'll use for the rest of their life. So yung sa ating social skills, no? Sociability is also being developed if we have a diverse classroom. This is tested and proven. No, I can relate with this one. Number 4, teaching faculty. So this helps students identify with teachers who then structure their lessons to reflect differences among students. So culturally relevant lesson planning takes center stage. Okay, as a teacher, as a future teacher, you should also be sensitive when it comes to different cultures in a classroom, because we should also always anticipate that the classroom is diverse, always. Okay, lesson planning, culturally relevant, where a teacher not only highlights the importance of academic performance, but also cross-cultural understanding and competence as well, as activism and political analysis. Next one, so reasons why classrooms needed diversity in education. So first one, because the idea of diversity is not even that straightforward. No, we have the term diversity inside diversity. So how is it being explained? diversity inside diversity. For example, when Americans call Asians, they generalize that it is Chinese, right? But in reality, Asians, they have different cultures. They have different races when it comes to being an Asian. For example, I have here Park Seo-joon. Park Seo-joon is PSJ. I know you. I know you know him. I know you knew him. Park Seo-joon is a Korean actor, right? On the right side, we have the president of China, Chinese Republic. No, Chinese Republic ba? I think it's China. China, Xi Jinping, right? And in the middle, we have a Japanese, member of Twice, K-pop group, but she is Japanese. She is Sana, right? So Asians here are diverse. No, diversity inside diversity. Diversity of Asians, diversity of being Hispanic, diversity of being Latina, diversity of being American. But inside of it, there's also a diversity. The idea of diversity is not even that straightforward. Number 2, teachers have a particular responsibility to recognize and structure their lessons to reflect student differences. So as teacher, just like what the importance have already told us on the preceding slides, teachers have a particular, it's our responsibility to recognize and structure our lessons to reflect on student differences. Remember, religion is also part of diversity. So some students of us may be Catholic, some of them might be born again Christian, an Iglesia ni Cristo, right? A Jehovah's Witness, maybe an Islam or Muslim, So we should always be sensitive, culturally sensitive as a teacher, and you as a future teacher. So facilitate the process of learning overall, transfer experiences, prior knowledge, and scaffolding. These are the terms that we will define later. When we say transfer, it's transfer of knowledge, of course. Experiences, they say experience is the best teacher. We are learning the most when we experience things. You can't argue with that. Prior knowledge. When we have prior knowledge, what's the other term of prior knowledge? I know you already know this one, but it is schema, right? Schemata. Teachers can capitalize the scheme or the prior knowledge of their students. They can always work on it. How? By scaffolding. Later we will discuss the scaffolding. So task, you need to watch this one, especially online. Diverse Education for a Student in the Education System by Elijah Jones, TEDx Youth at Wilmington. The link, I'll be sending the link to you on the messenger chat group, or you can see it on the module that I have sent to you. Okay, so it's really hard these days to teach this way, but we are going for this. So language. Let's define language. So according to Britannica.com, language, a system of conventional spoken, manual, signed, or written symbols by means of which human beings as members of a social group and participants in its culture express themselves. So language expression. Language is an expression. It is a system of conventional spoken or manual or written symbols. Okay, according to Britannica.com. So language is today an inseparable part of human society. Human civilization has been possible only through language. So think of this. Have you ever imagined a society without a language? How are they going to communicate when there's no language? So language is crucial. Language is pivotal when it comes to existing society, especially us today. Okay, so let's have the characteristics and features of language. I've never thought that speaking in front of computer really I'm not comfortable and my throat is aching. I don't know why. So characteristics and features of language. It's like I'm trying my best to just talk to you. I'm imagining that you are here, guys. You are here, but let's continue. So first one is language is arbitrary. So I'm hoping that as I sent you the module, you are able to search what is arbitrary. But what is arbitrary? So let me read this to you. I have my Webster here. To be specific. So language is arbitrary. So language is arbitrary. What is arbitrary? According to Merriam-Webster, no, it is not planned or chosen for a particular reason, not based on reason or evidence. So language is arbitrary. Hindi po siya napagkasunduan. Okay? Language is arbitrary. There's no such thing, a rule on why is it a woman is being called a woman. What's the origin of woman? What's the origin of man? No? Hindi po, it is not planned. It's not chosen. It undergone evolution. Later, we will tackle more about the evolution part. Next, language is social. Here, language is social, purely social. You cannot say that language is not social because you are communicating, right? You're communicating with each other. The IT students nga, di ba? They have their own language, no? They have their own language when it comes to finishing their code, no? In their respective computers. Also, it is social, no? You cannot, language couldn't exist because language is in society. That's why it is social. Next, language is symbolic. Yan. I know you know this one. Language is symbolic. How? How do you read this one? Let me write this. How do you read this one? This letter. Okay? I'm hoping that you're seeing this one. Okay, the symbol of A. You read this as ah. Right? You read it as ah. Right? It is symbolic language. It has symbols for you to understand. Right? Next. Language is systematic. How systematic? No? It is from symbols, no? Sounds. It started from symbols. Respective symbols as sounds. Sounds, when you combine sounds, you can formulate words. Symbols, you combine symbols, you formulate words. Words has meanings, and in meanings you can construct sentences. You can construct paragraph. It is systematic. It starts from the symbols, then the sounds, then the words, then the meaning, and the context. Just like what Mac Halliday is trying to tell us. Later, we will discuss Mac Halliday. Okay, language is vocal. I know, you know this one. Language is vocal. Sinasabi ko, sinasalitang tunog. That's why a symbol, a letter, has a sound because it is intended to be spoken. Okay? It is vocal. Language is productive and creative. Language is non-instinctive and conventional. Okay? Language do evolution. Okay? It always undergone evolution. Language is being transferred not because of heritage, but because we are acquiring it. We are being immersed to it. I remember my professor in Masters today. For you to learn language, I won our class in English in high school. It's not enough, actually, for you to learn English because you need to be immersed. You need to be immersed on the language. That's why That's why she always tells us, no, that in my class you need to speak in English, and for you to speak in English, you need to think in English. You need to feel English. You need to immerse yourself in English. No, that's why it's really tiring. It's really tiring for you to think in Filipino, then speak in English. No, that's multitasking. She's always telling it to us. That's why you should always immerse yourself in English. For example, if you are a future English teacher, immerse yourself in English. Try to watch some movies without subtitle. You can do it with subtitle muna. Then after that, no subtitles. Okay, you need to immerse. Another one is this productive and creative. No, language do evolve. It always evolve. It changes a lot. No, there's a new language we formulate new words. We formulate new language, right? The Becky language that we have today, no, the Konyo speak that we have today, it is product of evolution. The Konyo, right? The combination of English and Filipino, that is so Konyo. If you speak English and Filipino, where are we going to eat ba? no? Saan tayo mag-eat, no? Pag ganon, we're already saying, from Ateneo yan, na Ateneo Lasal, yayamanin konyo, right? Because that's the way they speak, and that is an evolution of language. As well as Becky language, no? They have different terms in Becky today, no? Charot is socially acceptable. It is not also being used by gays, no? By members of the LGBT. It's also being used by men. Me too. I always use charot instead of joke. It's good to hear charot, right? Language do evolve. It's productive and creative. Okay, so your activities assessment will be discussed in our Google Meet later or in Messenger chat. Don't worry, we won't be meeting next week. Okay, asynchronous po tayo. Maybe submission of your requirements next week. I'll be giving it later. So we are proceeding now to the Unit 2, Diversity in Education, Language in a Global World. Language and education, the relationship. Learning objectives, define value, and understand the concept and relationship of language and education. Create a graphic organizer about the relationship of language and education. So Mac Holiday, relationship, education, language. Now we will discuss this one. In discussions of language and education, language is usually defined as a shared set of verbal codes such as English, Spanish, Mandarin, French, and Swahili. But language can also be defined as a generic, communicative phenomenon, especially in descriptions of instruction. Teachers and students use spoken and written language to communicate with each other, to present tasks, engage in learning processes, present academic content, assess learning, display knowledge and skill, and build classroom life. Excuse me. In addition, much of what students learn is language. Students learn to read and write. Academic written language. Students learn the discourse of academic disciplines, sometimes called academic languages and literacies. So we always do learn language. And according to Mac Holiday, this is what I'm telling you earlier, Mac Holiday, Michael Alexander Kirkwood Holiday. Of course, an English-born linguist, influential, systemic, functional linguistic model of language, has suggested the relationship between language and education can be divided into 3 heuristic categories. Learning language, learning through language, and learning about language. Let's go now to learning language. So, in their early years, children are learning both spoken and written language. They are developing use of complex grammatical structures and vocabulary. Communicative competence, rules for the appropriate and effective use of language in a variety of social situations, comprehension of spoken and written language, and ways to express language. So, in our early years, children, we are learning spoken and written language. Maybe we develop use of complex grammar, we have the vocabulary, but communicative competence is always present with us. So learning language, educational programs for young children often emphasize curriculum and instruction to facilitate language learning. 1. With regard to spoken language, instructional programs may emphasize opportunities to comprehend a variety of genres, from directions to narratives, and opportunities to experiment with modes of expression. On the other hand, when it comes to written language, classrooms for young children provide opportunities to learn alphabetic symbols, grapho-phonemic relationships, letter-sound relationship, basic sight, vocabulary, and comprehension strategy. So, when we learn language, when we learn spoken language, it's quite different from learning written language. Spoken language is simultaneous. Written language is more of a technical, right? Emphasize opportunities to comprehend variety of genres, from directions to narratives. We are teaching them to speak the language, while on the other, we are teaching them to write the language. It could start from alphabet, symbols, from the letter-sound relationship, vocabulary and comprehension strategies. There's a debate, the didactic teacher-centered teaching, student-centered teaching, children whose language performance is below that of their peers needs explicit instruction to catch up. When we say teacher-centered, it's more of the teacher exposing them in the language, in the language learning. But when we say student-centered teaching, it's more of the student being exposed, being immersed on the language. Nilulunod natin yung bata dun sa language, no? Written language is argued as sufficiently different from spoken language as to require explicit instruction. Research noting the importance of phonological awareness to reading development is cited as rationale for parts, no, to whole fluent curriculum, oral curriculum. So alternative argument, no, children are inherently wired as language learners, and that providing them with a stimulating, rich language environment supplies them with the tools they need to be further developing their spoken and written language ability. So, there are people and experts know they believe that children are wired to learn language in both ways, in written and in spoken. As long as they are being immersed, they are being provided with simulations. Simulations are rich language environment. No, they can learn. Although teachers may provide instruction, the instruction should follow the student's needs and interest. No, that's the one of the basics, no, of education, of teaching. You need to base your subject on the student's needs and interest. If you catch their interest, if you catch their needs, they will listen to you, and that way they will learn a lot from you. So the complexity of a language process requires that children be allowed to engage in complete or whole language activities rather than in isolated skill instruction. So what the argument is trying to say is it should be simultaneous. No, we should not only focus on written language. We should not also focus on spoken language. The students should be immersed, no, both in written and spoken language for them to much learn the language. Okay, so skip this one. Let's go now to this is what I'm telling something to you, telling things earlier. Immersion is believed to provide a child with motivation and language input for becoming a fluent speaker. The other side argues that stripping children of their native language also strips them of their culture and heritage. That's why it's really important not to balance it out. You need your students to be immersed on the language, especially if it's second language. They need to be immersed on that particular language for them to learn, for them to experience the language. So learning through language. What forms of classroom language practice facilitate what kinds of learning? How can we learn through language? First, this is the first one, scaffolding. Process through which teachers and students interact with each other by building on each other's immediately previous statement or utterance. For example, as a teacher, you will be working on the prior knowledge of your students. You may ask, who among you were able to go to Chocolate Hills, right? So the children will think, what is Chocolate Hills? So on his or her prior knowledge, Chocolate Hills is in Bohol, and it's a beautiful place. No, it's color green, sometimes color brown during summer, and he or she will raise her hand, no, her or his hand. Ma'am, ako po nakapunta na po ako sa Chocolate Hills. No, in that response, the teacher can capitalize on that one because there's an experience already. No, there's an experience. There's a prior knowledge of the Chocolate Hills on the mind of the student. Then the response will be a statement building on each other's immediately previous statement or utterance. It's about scaffolding. It's about capitalizing on the prior knowledge of your student. Next, the IRF sequence, the teacher initiation, student response, teacher feedback, or evaluation. On the other hand is the show and tell. This is a great opportunity for young children to develop narrative performance skills such as topic coherence, sequencing of events, structuring narrative events, and adjusting a narrative to an audience. So, learning about language. So, perhaps the most obvious classroom practice for learning about language is study of grammar and spelling. It's all about the technicalities now when we learn about language. So, as linguists point out, the grammar taught in school is a prescriptive grammar. And it's not what linguists mean by grammar, the descriptive grammar. So, for those students who use standard American English, prescriptive grammar is often very close to the language they speak. But for the students who speak a variation of English, other than standard English, or speak maybe African American, maybe a Taglish, no? The teaching and learning of prescriptive grammar does not necessarily map onto the language they speak, because when we say prescriptive grammar, this is the technical, super technical side of the grammar. For example, the standard American English. But when it comes to the variety of English language, there is a lot of variety of English language. There's African American English, no? There's a black dialect, no? Ebonics and African American English, no? There are certain words that it's English, but it's only an African American people, right? So, ito, instruction of a second language. So, English as a second language, ESL, English as a foreign language, EFL. So, we, Filipinos, are we ESL or EFL? So, we are ESL. Our second language supposedly should be English. Remember, in our law, no, and I forgot the law, certain law. Our second language is English, because it's one of the official languages in the country. Our official languages are Filipino and English. So, our second language is ESL, and it is not our EFL. But, if we do learn Korean, that's our foreign language. But it is not English as a foreign language, because English is our second language. Correct? Are we clear with that? Okay? So, you need to watch this one, How Language Shapes the Way We Think. Lara Boroditsky. The link, I'll be sending this to you also in Messenger. So, activities assessment will be discussed later. So, next, diversity in education, language in a global world, language and society. Excuse me. Define, value, understand the concept of language and society. Discover the relationship of language and society through research. So, why is it through research? So, this is discovery learning. It's up for you to learn on this one. No, research about the relationship of language and the society. Give at least 5 concrete reasons on why language and society are intertwined with each other. So we will discuss this later via Google Meet. Okay, and I think I already gave this one to you as an assignment. Okay, so you need to discover this. Discovery learning. Research about relationship of language and society. So later we will be meeting now. I guess it's already done. Thank you for listening. Inabot na tayo ng 30 minutes, if I'm not mistaken, more than 30 minutes. So, very sorry. We'll proceed now to our Google Meet class. Thank you and bye-bye.